Now, are you going to help me control the slides or?
I am.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Hi, just a quick the agenda for today is I'll do an introductions about me, and then we're gonna get into the 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 process in which how our team come up with a solution that help increase our usage with Tutor.com. And as you see the agenda, it's the introductions, and then we get into the identifying the struggles, the solution and implementations, the result or data at that point, and then I'm going to open up for Q&A. Thank you. Next. So this is me. That's me back in 2011. I was still a teacher then. I taught high school math, ranging from Algebra 1 all the way through AP Calculus. As you can see over there is my family, and I have two kids, which school age 13 and 12, and my wife is also a math teacher at the middle school. Um, but as for me, I was a math teacher, and then I stepped out. I did a Common Core math expert with the North District, and then every summer I would teach for our local community college, the Jaime Escalante program, which provide enrichment math classes to high school students. And then after being a Common Core math expert, I joined Gear Up for LA. This is my 8th year being a site coordinator, and I'm very happy to do this job. As you can see, that was my previous team. I have a different team now. That's me starting Gear Up for LA in the year 2014 back then. Thank you. So when I started, as a coordinator, um, the program partnership with Tutor.com, and the idea is we all know, right? Tutoring at the fingertips, right? At any time, any given time, at home or at school, right? Because we know that a lot of kids had a hard time staying after school because they have, after school responsibility with their parents or with their family. So then Tutor.com seems very important, very resourceful for the kids. When late at night they're doing homework, they can log on and get a tutor right away. However, throughout my course of working with Gear Up, I noticed that not a lot of kids log on, right? And our usage data is, it's not that great. But I guess the idea is then I work with my partner and kind of figuring out, well, what is the problem? And then we do various surveys, and sometimes the issue was internet connectivity, right? Or looking for the right tutor, or is taking too long to log on, or the kids simply just didn't like the platform, or they're not used to the platform. So then we kind of look at all this issues that the kids going through, and we narrow it down to, is the experience that the kid get. If they have a bad experience, they will not continue to see the value in Tutor.com, right? So the idea is then, well, how do we make it so that they have a good experience, right? Even though if they struggle through, how do they avoid having that struggle, right? And creating a better experience next time when they log in, okay? So then our solution was we work directly with the instructor and or the teachers, right? What happened is the teachers will identify a group of students from, maybe from 3 to 7 kids, and that group of students will work directly with Gear Up staff, where we will host the tutoring sessions for the next 4 or 5 days, where they would come and they would log on, and we walk them through the process of getting getting a tutor, talking to a tutor, right? And provide feedback at the end. If they had a bad experience, they should share that. They should write it there, right? And all the nitty gritty options that they can have, where they can save a favorite tutors, or they can set up an appointment with the favorite tutors, right? So we do that for 5 days, and our staff just monitor them, right? Monitoring them, that making sure that they logging on for the next 5 days, and then and then in return, what do they get out of it is that they get the experience. One, that's what we're trying to solve. And third is the teacher that we're working with would also provide some kind of incentive, such as a make up a homework, or able to, if they turn in a late prior homework, they can make it up, or they can do make up quiz, or whatever the teacher feel comfortable with, right? We don't dictate that, because I believe firmly that, you know, we don't dictate what the instructor or teachers to do, but rather a collaborations effort in making sure that the student is successful in the classroom. And so after the 5 days period, then the teacher would provide that incentive for the kid, given the fact that they must show, we must show the teacher some kind of proof that, yeah, this kid went through these 5 days tutoring sessions with us, right? And then the cycle start again. Now the teachers then kind of narrow down the next 5 kids that he or she would like for us to work with, and then the process start over again. So because of that, here's the next piece, which is the data piece. So as you can see, the kids that spend the most time, so you're gonna see two pieces of data here. One is the student outcome, right? But I'm not gonna say, well, because of Tutor.com, I think Tutor.com is part of their success, right? On top of that, with the instructions and other things that the teachers does. But by looking at this data, we can say that the kids that spend the most time on Tutor.com, majority of them get A's. The kids that spend the least time end up with C's, and so are the B's. And if you compare the usage, right, from January to August of 2020 versus 2021, as you can see, there's a gradual increase in usage, especially the month of July, because we run our Jaime Escalante program, which is the math enrichment program. And that's where, you know, they work intensively. It's a 5 weeks course where the kids will finish one year worth of math. So as you can see the increase in usage there. It's a summer program. Yeah. And these are some feedback that the kids, at the end of our program, we give them a survey, and this is some of their feedback. Angie here said, I think it was really helpful because they help you and guide you to find the answers. And with Tutor.com, I have seen the sessions where the tutor, you know, question their prior knowledge, what they have learned, right? What did they learn, and what do they know, and kind of bridge that gap, right? That misconceptions, or that that knowledge that wasn't there, and build on that, versus where a tutor would just give the kids the solutions, and it doesn't help, you know. And you can read that for yourself. I use it once, prepare for a quiz, and helped me realize I still need to go over some lessons. So she continued using the Tutor.com. She had you know, she didn't trust it so much, but she had a good experience, and it made her realize that, hey, this is helpful. So you know, in conclusion, is about the experience that kids have, and how do we provide an environment so that the kids have a good experience, even though maybe, you know, they might get a disconnections, or they wait in the queue too long, right? We want to be there and support them, and to say, hey, maybe you try a different tutor, or save a tutor, or make an appointment with a tutor. So those are the ways that we solve and try to create a better experience for the kid. Next. And here are the other kids that did some this is their feedback to us. And that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, you may ask.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was really fascinating to hear. Um, I do have a question while others may be typing theirs into the chat box or into the question box to ask. Just when you said you hosted a tutoring session with students, can you take us a little bit more into what that looked like? How did you do that, and what were the students doing? What were the coordinators doing? Who was helping do all of that on the ground, one-to-one with the students?
So basically, we have the classroom structure. As you know, we were in virtual setting the entire year. So then we have the asynchronous time and synchronous time. So the tutoring sessions happens during the asynchronous time, where we walk through with them, where the our our academic advisors would get on Zoom with the kids, right, and have the kid log on to their Tutor.com account, and as soon as they say, "Well, I have a problem," then the academic advisors would put them in a breakout room so that they can share their screen, and so that we can see, well, what kind of struggle that you have, right? And if they don't have any struggle, they just kind of be on their own and get in touch with a tutor. But if they do have some issues, then we would troubleshoot with the kid, in versus the kid staying at home troubleshooting it by themselves, because they might be impatient and they don't want to deal with that. And I think with us struggling with them, I think it create a positive experience for the kid.
That's great. So I do like that idea of getting, one-to-one with the students when you can, so that the students are able to really, because you're right, sometimes they are impatient. Sometimes they're not patient with the technology, or sometimes they're not patient with not understanding their work. Sometimes they just want to get on with it. And if they have questions, they're a lot less likely to give up if there's someone that they know with them, that is, helping them to focus on, getting into the session. Because I think what we saw is that when students get into the session with the tutor, then they really have that understanding of how the service works, and how it's going to help them specifically by the virtue of having that hands-on session, sort of sticking with it through there. I do have some more questions that have come into the question box, Danny. Number one is asking for you to talk about how you used to be a non-believer in Tutor.com and what changed about that.
I think being not a non-believer, right? Because I guess I believe in the system, that the system will walk the kid through. However, I forgot that we are not dealing with adults. We're dealing with students. You know, the age ranging from 14 to 18, where you look at technologies around you, right? Twitter, Instagram is instant feedback, instant gratifications. So then when I look at I keep asking myself, well, why are they not logging on? It's such a great resource. So I did talk to some kid, and they say, well, I log on and it's take forever to connect, right? Now, if you log on to Instagram, it take a second, less than a second, for you to get on and post your thing, right? So I realized that it's not about non-believing, it's solving the problem. Is we need to create a better experience, and for the kid to understand that, hey, this is good for you, and for them to see the intrinsic reward in that, is that they're going to get the help that they need and do better in the classroom. But before we even get there, we need to understand what is their struggle, and their struggle is the experience. It's not so much about me. I believe in Tutor.com. I do. It's not. I might have come off as non-believer because not
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my kid logging on. And it's it's puzzling, right? Because you have something that you want to share, something's great, but the kid is not attaching to it, right? And there must be something that's stopping it, right? And if you think of Instagram or Twitter, if they have a logon issues, I don't think they would be that popular nowadays, you know. So yeah.
Right. That question was asked by someone who knows you well. So they may have been using some internal shorthand for that question. So thank you for that very candid answer. And I do hear what you're saying, and that we live in a world of instant gratification, and kids are especially insistent upon that very timely responsiveness. So how, as a follow-up then, how did your um, feeling for Tutor.com change, or did it, once you started to see the students engaging more and responding?
No, I think in reading some of the sessions, I really like it because you know, as a teacher, from a teacher perspective, you always being asked to embed the basic skills, and Tutor.com actually does a good job in bringing those skills from the students and understanding, well, where they coming from and what do they already know, and the gap that, you know, we need to fill in, where, you know, time is luxury, right? Time is things that teachers do not have, because they don't have an hour to spend with the kid one-on-one, but they rather have 200 or 300 kids in their classroom on a regular basis. So I think I find a value in Tutor.com not rushing to give the kid the answers, but actually more like a teaching a mini lessons with that kid, and bring out those basic skills that they need to know in order for them to solve any particular problem. The prior knowledge.
Thank you. There's another question asking, how did you get the teachers to buy in to Tutor.com?
Well, I was one of the teacher. I had to, in order for you to get buy-in, for me, the way I see it is, in order for you to get buy-in from anyone, you have to try it out, right? From a teacher perspective, you tend to listen to other teachers, right? Uh, Rather than from an administrator, right? So I tried it out, and I encouraged my colleague to try it out, and that's how we got that to happen.
So did you, what advice would you have for others who are not teachers themselves, but may want to engage with teachers at the schools that they serve in the same way?
I think for administrator or coaches, I think the one best way is to have the teacher see it in actions, right? You might have that one teacher that would volunteer, and once it start to pick up tractions, then you want to invite other teachers to come and see the protocol in actions, where it it create a space for collaborations between partners and the schools, right? And I don't recommend this to go all out, well, everybody got to do this, right? I think you need to find out one teachers that is willing to try out new thing, because it doesn't hurt, right? And to show that it works, it actually works.
That's awesome. So another question that came in is, what age group were you working with?
I was working with 14, 15, and all the way through 18.
All right. And then another question is, did your students use only the chat, or did they use the chat plus voice to communicate with the tutors?
They only use the chat. They shy, very shy.
All right. So the next question is, how did you monitor the students for 4 to 5 days?
So I'm actually very fortunate with that because Gear for LA, we do have a team. So within my team, I have two academic advisors, which then will monitor that progress, making sure that they logging on, making sure that they are getting a tutor, and then on the back end, my director would then download the usage data for us to analyze.
So what data did you look at specifically? Which data points?
So she would pull the weekly usage data for each of the classes, for each of the schools.
Awesome. All right. So there's another question asking, I like the tutor session idea. Were there any other things you tried that didn't work?
Oh yeah, we did. One time, I think this was 2 years ago. I mean, when we were in the early stage of rolling out Tutor.com, what we did was we randomly pull kids in to do Tutor.com after school and bought pizza for them. Well, they weren't there for the right reason. So if you have that kind of thought, I would recommend don't do it, because the kid will be there just for the pizza, right? And it was a one-time deal. It wasn't consistent, and it was not over a short period of time, right? So then the kids will not see the value in that, right? So if you're gonna do that, I recommend do that for the next 4 or 5 days with the same group of kids, and don't switch it out. Keep that same group of kids so that they see, to the point where they see, I can see me using this in the future with my class or my current class. So that's what we tried. And another one that we tried was leave it at the hand of the teachers, where we just walk in and say, hey, we have Tutor.com, please give your kids some incentive to use it. But I failed to realize that, teachers have a lot on their hands, right? So being a real partner, I should have been more involved in that partnership, which then came to this point. And we were more hands-on with the teachers.
Awesome, thank you. Then I guess the final question that's come in so far is your team working with teachers in person now with this same plan?
We are planning to roll out the same plan, but right now we are working because, I mean, after the whole sessions, we're looking at the data. We realize that the kids that really needs it will use it if you walk them through the process and if they have a good experience, right? So right now we are waiting to see the data, the grades to come out, and then we're going to be very strategically targeting those students to bring their grades up, and working directly with those teachers and hosting the same protocol that we set in place.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait to see how that comes about and the results of that effort in this school year, with the summer usage being so exciting to see. All right, so another question that's come in is, have you gotten parents involved, letting them know the service is available for their children to use at home?
Yes, so just a little bit more on the background. So I finished with one of the Gear Up grant. So I got transitioned to a new Gear Up grant, where, I realized that a lot of parents go through the motions without realizing what kind of resources are there for them. So with this new Gear Up grant, with this new site that I'm assigned to, sorry for that, the bell just rang. I am gonna let the parent know. As a matter of fact, we are doing advising, and we're gonna let the parent know that Tutor.com is there, and show the parent that their kid can log on through the website, and walk them through that, so that the parent is gonna be our home front, warrior to support us, where we are the school front to support their kid at the same time.
Great. So the next question is, how many students are currently using the program now, and are they in person now? I guess where you are.
Well, Gear for LA, we are currently serving, I should know the number, but I think over 16,000 students across the districts. And
Across LA
across
Unified.
LA, yeah, LA Unified.
And how many schools?
A lot of school. I think over 20 high school. I assume. Yeah, I don't have that number in my head.
Okay. Yeah, but lots and lots of schools and lots of kids have the benefit of that that access. All right. Oh, so Lois is saying yes. I think that means yes in terms of number of kids, number of schools is right on track, what you provided for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think just a comment here more so than a question, but that telling students at school doesn't always get home to parents. So that parent outreach piece seems to be really important.
It is. I think, we always talk about the three-legged stool, but we always leaving the parents out, and they are the third leg.
Yes, absolutely. Those parents are the ones getting the homework questions when the
Right.
students are there working on their work at home. Okay, so those are all the questions I see right now. If you continue to have them, if you think of them as we go through the rest of our presentation today, please do go ahead and put them in the question box, because we'll be, hopefully Danny can hang on with us for just a few more minutes as we kind of present some more outreach resources for you, highlight some things for you for fall. But thank you so much, Danny, for your willingness to share all the great work that you and your team have been doing on behalf of your Gear Up students in Los Angeles. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to answer all of our questions and give all of your very helpful insights to us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure, absolutely. And when I say our pleasure, I'm referring to the team of client services managers from Tutor.com who are also here on the call with us. You see us, our lovely faces here on the screen. My name is Kara Hall. Also with me, you might recognize one or some of us. If you don't recognize all of us, we have John Kohlhauer, we have Meg Sauvé, we have Wesley Jordan and Ashley Casas. So thank you for taking your time with us this afternoon. And we wanted to just go through a little bit of our own agenda to talk about Tutor.com and some how it works information for those of you who are not as familiar with how Tutor.com works, but more and getting to really importantly at the end some resources for outreach, including a brand new video that we have for parents, so that you can all send out to the parents of the students in your programs to get the that information out to them in a very palatable way about the service that's available for their child through your program. So what we do at Tutor.com is to help you help students, and that applies to the Tutor.com service itself as well as our client services team. We are always here for you to help you reach students, to idea share with you, to support you with resources, and we encourage you to reach out to us, to your client services manager for that type of assistance at any time. If you're not sure exactly who your client services manager is, you could reach all of us. at any time by emailing client support@tutor.com, and we'll get you to the right person. All right, so Tutor.com provides extra set of hands. This is another place to direct students for that extra support, that human touch that we all need, especially in this world where we're dealing with learning loss due to COVID. And Tutor.com is a great resource to plug in schools, for teachers, for parents, and for students who are looking for that additional support. We do help provide struggling students with extra academic support, as Danny was just explaining to us. You know, that's how they target the kids based on grades. But we also, you know, we can help you identify struggling students with the usage reports that are available to you all through the client portal, and trends, so identifying the core topics that students are asking for help with. We can give you that information based on the usage of Tutor.com as it occurs. So on our agenda today was building a growth mindset and using online tutoring as an effective, powerful strategy to help overcome learning loss due to COVID. Overall, across Tutor.com programs, you know, we follow up all of our sessions with a survey asking students, you know, what they thought about their tutor, what they thought about the online classroom, whether they're glad they have access to this service that, you know, that's provided for them, if Tutor.com is helping them to increase their confidence with their schoolwork and help improve their grades and help them complete their homework assignments that they're trying to get completed when they're at home and not with their teacher. We get those feedback results by the hundreds every single night with the sessions that we serve to students via Tutor.com all throughout the country. And students leave lots of comments as well in that post-session survey and tell us, you know, what they think. And one of the things we see consistently, you know, aside from comments like, this was a great tutor, I really liked him, sometimes they'll get into a little bit more detail and let us know, you know, all kinds of ways that this service is benefiting them right there in the moment when they get stuck, frustrated, before they give up and come to class the next day without having their homework complete, still having questions, not ready to move on in class the next day. And so we get these post-session comments. We like to share them with you. We hope that you share the post-session comments with your parents and with your teachers and even with your students anonymously. You can let them know these are what our students are saying about Tutor.com, as Danny did when he was, you know, talking about the students at Garrett for LA that were using Tutor.com and what they had to say. So there's some examples here on the screen, and, you know, really talking about some different aspects of the service. These are a great way to highlight what's going on in your program. You know, I really enjoyed my tutor, Matt. He made it easier to understand concepts and content and did not make me feel bad when I got something wrong. Tutor.com is a judgment-free zone. The tutors will be encouraging. They're going to help the students step by step without doing the work. They're going to be really encouraging, and that comment speaks to that. I really enjoyed the session. The tutor did not do the work for me. She allowed me to read aloud to catch simple mistakes and helped with commas. She was a lifesaver. I will recommend Tutor.com to everyone. And so that really speaks to the fact that the tutors are not going to be doing the work for the student. The tutor is going to come along and support, give examples, and the student's going to do the work. They do enjoy the help, that individualized help. Like Danny was talking about, you know, the tutors can spend, you know, 20, 30, 40 minutes with a student on an individual basis every single time that they log in. And that is one of the powerful benefits of using Tutor.com. The tutor did a great job explaining and allowing me to think through without giving me the answer. I feel more confident that now I can solve the problems on my own. We know that confidence in schoolwork is one of the key indicators of future academic success for students. That is a very powerful statement. indeed. So students in a COVID world, speaking of learning loss due to COVID, um, you know, there was a Greenberg-Quinlan-Rosner research survey of 800 public school students who, before COVID, 58% of which said they were doing well with schoolwork and academics, and after COVID, 32%. So we're seeing a decline in the students' own estimation of how they're doing academically. The students' own estimation of that has gone down since COVID became a part of our lives. So Tutor.com is a great tool to plug in because what students wish they had is more interaction between their teacher and their students, especially in times when students are doing hybrid learning or completely virtual learning. They don't even have that face-to-face interaction with their teacher that they had become accustomed to up to that point. So Tutor.com does give that opportunity for that student to get some individualized help from a caring subject matter expert tutor. Additional tutoring that, helping students to catch up and to stay on track. So if you're in a situation where students might be in a credit recovery situation, more students than ever before are trying to pass these critical high stakes courses in order to protect their, graduation timing and protect their grade point averages and things like that. So staying on track is important. Catching up is now more important than ever. And, more one-to-one time with teachers is really important. So Tutor.com does allow for that time, and it allows for that interaction in our online classroom that allows for lots of collaboration and communication between the tutor and the student. So it's a great service to plug in. Just if you're not familiar, connecting with a tutor, there are lots of ways for students to connect with us from subject. We have like over 200 subjects that we support through most of our programs. And we do have Spanish-speaking bilingual subject matter expert tutors who help in all subjects of math and science and history and writing, and even our study skills coaching. So we even have tutors that will help with things like getting organized and taking notes in time management and managing stress. To connect with us, the student, once they log into their program, will be given some choices to make for selecting their topic and the subject and the grade level, letting us know what they're working on, what their question is about. They can attach a file if it's relevant, and then they choose how they'd like to communicate with that tutor, if it's just that type chatting only, or that adding in that voice, that speaking and listening connection to the tutor. They click that green Connect Now button, and then they're going to be placed into a brief waiting queue. We do recognize that we're in an instant gratification type of society, so we try to keep that wait time as low as we possibly can for students to connect with a real live person in our online classroom. Once they're there, we have lots of collaboration tools like an interactive whiteboard where students and tutors can share images, draw problems out, copy and paste some writing into the text editor, use graph paper, change the background, bring in shapes, formulas, even three-dimensional shapes that are oftentimes really hard to draw on a whiteboard. You can open multiple whiteboards within that online classroom. There's also tools like sharing web resources. So if the tutor has some great history website, for example, if there's a student that's doing research for a paper, that tutor could share that website. If they have a periodic table, if they have rules about placing commas in a sentence, anything that they have that is relevant to that topic that the student needs help with, they can place that right into the online classroom. Then they can, that becomes prevalent right there in that whiteboard space. it also becomes part of the session transcript, so the student can refer back to it from their previous sessions, and the tutor and the student can collaborate on that web resource during the session. There's also a graphing calculator, and that's available when needed during Tutor.com sessions. And we also have a code editor. There are some computer programming subjects that we offer for students taking those in school. So C++, Java, and Python students can take advantage of our code editor there that's built into the online classroom. We also offer file sharing, and that is helpful for assignments that students have in a Word document or an Excel, a spreadsheet, or a PowerPoint presentation. You can also share, PDFs and images as well into our online classroom. And there is a text editor also. So there's a two-way text editor. It allows for collaboration. Whatever the student does, the tutor will see, and vice versa. So it's a great way to work on anything text-based, writing paragraphs or parts of an essay, that type of thing. That's all available within the online classroom that students connect, or where they connect to the tutor. After each session, I mentioned that post-session survey, so the students are given the opportunity to give us feedback on demand. It's going to vary a little bit, but mostly students will respond to the survey about 35% of the time, which is pretty good for survey response rates. The tutors are also going to be completing a survey about the student that and how they were with that content. So that's going to feed some of our predictive insights for you that you get into your usage reports, so you can see if there are students that are really struggling with the content that they're bringing to us. You'll be made aware of that in your usage reports. Students are given access to an online account that features their transcripts of their previous sessions. They can review them. They can see their previous sessions again as movies. They can replay them. And they also have a virtual locker that gives them access to a place to store files to bring into session right then or later. If they need to, they can also retrieve any essays that they've submitted. When they've submitted them for feedback, they can get them back to their online account. Session transcripts are also made available to you in your usage report, so you can also be aware of everything that took place in that session, all of the communication, all the tools, files shared, whiteboards used, etc. I just mentioned the essay drop-off option for students. If students choose not to have a live writing session with a tutor, they could choose to drop off an essay for review. And so they're going to get a copy of their essay back to their Tutor.com account within 12 hours. It's usually sooner than that, but definitely within 12 hours, they'll get that information back to their Tutor.com account. And they're going to get the version of their essay that they submitted. They're going to let us know what they need to have the tutor review for when they're doing that review, and the tutor is going to return a version of that essay with comments on it. Again, not making changes for the student, but commenting on that paper. It's going to come back along with a feedback form that's going to give a detailed feedback for students to understand where they are in the writing process. And the tutor can also provide other resources for them. If they see an area in that essay that needs to be improved, they can provide next steps and resources for the student to have, and it's all collected in this summary feedback form, an example of which you see here on the screen. All right, we also give students practice quizzes. So the students could choose to, it's not required to use Tutor.com, but students could choose to take advantage of this if they wanted to brush up on their skills, see how they're doing with things they may be coming up against next semester or next year, or currently, just to see how they are. They can, doing with these particular skills and topics. They're all organized topically in the student's Tutor.com account. And if they take a a quiz, it's scored, and the student could have the option of working with a tutor on any question that they missed. They weren't sure how they missed it. And we also saw the question earlier in the question box, asking about if there's help for ACT prep. We offer that help in a couple of ways. And one of the things that students have access to in their Tutor.com account is SAT, ACT Essentials, which are practice tests, and a prep course for both of those high stakes tests for high school students. So that's available. And we also have tutors. If students are working through prep materials for those tests, they can connect with tutors who can help them with that content, as well as the content that they're working through in their school day. All right, so Tutor.com is not just for after school. We can support students in and out of the classroom. And there are some ideas here that might spark some outreach ideas for you all as well, listed on the screen. So working with English language arts teachers to make writing drop-off, essay drop-off review a part of their process. So before an essay is turned into the teacher, teachers may choose to have students, submit their essay through Tutor.com to take the first pass. And schools that do this report that they see the quality of their writing improve overall for students because the Tutor.com tutors are helping with that first pass. It takes some of the burden off the teachers for that proofreading and those responses to students, and they're able to move the students to a higher place with their writing more quickly. Teachers may choose to prescribe tutoring for homework a certain number of times a week, or if there's after school homework time clubs or things happening in the computer labs with student could have access to Tutor.com. If those are staffed by teachers, you might not have enough teachers to go around in the after school hours, even with an organized homework help time after school. And we can definitely support if students can have access to devices, they can get help from, so you don't have one person running around trying to answer chemistry questions and algebra questions and help with writing review. We can help alleviate some of that. Students that are in AVID classes or AP classes, credit recovery classes, just different types of ways of slicing and dicing an overall student population that you might have to sort of engage with those students separately. By grades, by their grades is one way of doing it, but there are some other ways of doing it as well. If you look at, what the students are involved in school and what their focus might be. And then, perhaps there's a way for teachers to look at it if they're looking at it on an individual student basis. If they're saying, okay, this student has taken a quiz, they didn't perform very well on this part of the quiz, I'm going to assign that student some problems of this type to work on with a Tutor.com tutor before the test. And it doesn't take long before you start to see how grade improvement can occur. If that's the case, because students are practicing on the areas that they're weak in before they're given an assessment that counts for more toward their grade and in the class and their grade point average ultimately. There is a way to start the day, or if there's a time for pulling out students into small groups during the school day and asking challenge questions. Teachers could choose to utilize Tutor.com in that way. And also giving class access to whole classes at one time if they have the time to do that. Or if, as the coordinators, you can work with whole classes from time to time with those teachers to make an introduction and give that orientation to larger groups of students at once. In order to do that, what you'll need is on the Client Resource Center, which we'll talk about, but that is called the School Day Usage Guide. So We do like to manage our staffing so that we are staffed up to meet the demand, especially if we have large groups of students logging in the same subject at the same time from the same place. And if that's the case, we'd like to get your support in helping us to know about that. But what we've provided for you are some resources. So we have a school day usage guide, and in the guide is a step-by-step what you'll need in order to, lead a large group of students through a Tutor.com session, and how to do that step-by-step. That's for the teacher or the coordinator or whoever's working with that large group of students. And in that school day usage guide is a form that you can fill out just to give us a heads up and let us know that you're going to be having, a class of 25 kids logging in for help in French at 10 o'clock in the morning. That way we can make sure that we have enough tutors on staff and we're not pulling from other demand that we might be getting at that time to serve those kids. So that resource is on the Client Resource Center, which is online at tutor.com/clientcare K-12. It's that URL that's in the lower right-hand corner of the screen right now. And we have lots of resources to fit in with the way that you're already communicating out to parents, to students, and to teachers, and to even administrators of the schools that you work with. We have some downloadable handouts that you can customize with your access information, how students access Tutor.com where you are. We have best practices guides. We have digital tools for making posts, sending out newsletters, making that messaging more eye-catching. And so we have an outreach calendar. So there's right there on the homepage, if you go to that website, is an outreach kit that has a zip file where you can download not only messaging, but also graphics to accompany that to help you sort of streamline your messaging, and you can customize that copy to make it fit your program. We also have YouTube content. So linked on the Client Resource Center at tutor.com/clientcare K-12 is our YouTube channel. We have playlists that are organized with lots of content for you. We have feature videos. We have a walkthrough video for students. So that's another resource to support those sort of orienting large groups of students at one time. It's called the step-by-step video. And we have lots of recordings of webinars like this one. And we have webinars for students and parents on all different topics that are there as well. So I'm excited to feature in today's webinar, though, the mention of our parent video. So that is front and center on our Client Care K-12 page. And that this is how to get started with Tutor.com. And so I encourage you to visit that page, download that video, or share it from our YouTube channel, push it out to your parents so that they can be introduced to the program and see how to get their students connected to the tutor to get help with those tricky homework questions.
Do you ever get stuck on homework?
So I'm not going to play it right now because we are running out of time. I just wanted to put up our thank you at the end here. These QR codes will take you to our YouTube channel directly, or to tutor.com/clientcareK12. And so I'll leave those up on the screen as I look back to the question box to see if there are any other questions that have come in that we can address. Okay, so I am seeing questions about the practice tests, the practice quizzes. So practice quizzes, when a report is pulled, can we see what percentage each student got on the quiz they took? I believe that the reports are not giving down to the specific student level on the practice quizzes because they're supposed to be diagnostic and like a self-serve, We don't want students to take these thinking that their score is going to be reported to someone because they are really not meant to be something the student has already learned. They're more of a diagnostic or sort of self-assessment type activity for them. And so I guess the other question is that shuffling the different topics or select specific ones. So these are going to be case by case. So if you you would just take them individually as they show up in the menu. So you're going to select your quiz from the menus there, and then take the quiz. There's just a varying number of questions, and then we don't want to have too many questions all at one time for the students in one particular quiz. So we'll just take them separately, and then they're scored on the individual basis. So as an admin, you'll be able to see which quizzes were accessed, but not necessarily which student took which quiz and what they scored on it. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, your attention, your attendance today. If you have any other questions, we will hang on for just a minute and see if we can get all of those answered. And as a reminder, if you're not sure who your client services manager is specifically, you can certainly reach out to client support at Tutor.com and we'll get you to the right person. Send us an email and we'll get you to the right person. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.